So let's get into some of the other hurdles that the Green Party and, well, I guess all third parties in general, but the Green Party being among them, is facing amidst this pandemic, and that is the situation with ballot access come the general. So, can you speak to that? I know that we covered some of this on the show already. Essentially, what's going on is that in a typical election year, you guys, whether it's the Greens or the Libertarians or any other party that wants to get on the general ballot, they gather signatures state by state, and they have to do that physically, and then they submit it, and then they get on those ballots. Well, now that's not possible because of the pandemic. So what's going on there?
Right. Well, going into this year, the Green Party was already on the ballot for president in 21 states. And in 2016, we were on the ballot in at least 45 states, and we don't want to backslide from that. So we have Greens out there who, in their respective states, are trying to make sure that as many voters as possible have as many choices as possible for the most powerful office in the country. And but as you said, the usual process is through petitioning. And going door to door and petitioning during a pandemic is going to put in jeopardy, put in harm's way, the very people that we seek to represent in office, not to mention the petitioners themselves, our local and state candidates, and the families of all of our local and state candidates. So we have been asking state governments for emergency relief, not just for our presidential petitioning, but for all candidates across the country, all Green Party candidates, and really all candidates, right, who are affected by this, to either dramatically lower signature requirements, grant automatic ballot access, or to replace petitioning with a reasonable filing fee. And we think those are reasonable measures that a governor could enact with a stroke of a pen. We understand that the crises that we're facing, right? People are dying every day. People are getting sick every day. We've got frontline workers and healthcare and so many other areas who are putting their lives on the line to try and keep essential services running while so many of us are in lockdown. We understand this is not the first item on a lot of people's agendas. At the same time, we shouldn't have to sacrifice democracy to get through this pandemic. It is not an either or proposition. There are very simple, very straightforward remedies where we can still have elections, we can still give voters a choice on election day, and also keep each other safe, keep our communities safe during the pandemic. Now, are governors being receptive to this? It's not great. Some state governments have been. Vermont took action through their legislature. And in New Jersey, they are allowing electronic collection of signatures, which is helpful. But we're having to go ahead.
One state has already done that then. New Jersey is saying you can do this electronically. And well, what did Vermont do? You said that is Vermont considering that, or has Vermont declared that as well? Or what's the situation with Vermont?
Vermont just went ahead and waived signatures entirely, if I have that correct.
Okay.
Yeah. And now in Illinois, we actually had to go to court. And so there was a joint lawsuit that was filed alongside with the Libertarian Party, and we had to take the state government to court. This was filed by the State Green Party of Illinois. Kudos to them. They did amazing work on this. And it was just recently announced in Ballot Access News that a judge has dramatically reduced signature requirements overall. And what they said is, if you were on the ballot as a party in 2018 or 2016, we're just going to assume that you're on the ballot this year. So the Green Party will be on the ballot in Illinois for this year because of those previous years of successful ballot access. And that's what we're looking for. And the problem is that we have this patchwork state by state system of election laws, and we have a lot of state governments that are dragging their feet, kicking and screaming, and that we're going to have to take them to court to get this common sense, no-brainer remedy. And so we're asking people to go to gp.org and check out our ballot access page. You can go straight to gp.org GetYourNewsOnWithRon.com/ballot_access. And you can see the states where we're currently petitioning, see the states where we're already on the ballot. There's a donate button where you can contribute directly to our ballot access efforts. Going to court's expensive. And this is one of the many ways that the two-party cartel keeps people outside, is they refuse to listen to people unless they're taken to court. But going to court requires lawyers. And even when lawyers are working pro bono, like they're still filing fees, and lawyers still, even the ones who are doing pro bono work, there are costs that go along with it. When you're talking about dozens of states, then that really mounts up. So we're really looking for help, and we want people to volunteer with our ballot access team. There's a lot of people who have come to the Green Party in the last couple of weeks who are really interested in the Green Party as a real opposition to the two corporate parties. And this is one way that people can plug in with something that we need right now, which is like, we've got to get our candidates, both state, local, and national, on the ballot and give people a real choice this year.
Wasn't it something to you? And I said this when I covered the initial story on Get Your News On with Ron. Isn't it something that when it comes to our votes, I can speak particular to California. We use this bogus machinery that had never been tested before, and all the early analysis of it showed every red flag imaginable. I mean, the report that was submitted to Alex Padilla was, it almost read like a really bad comedy sketch, where it's like everything that could possibly go wrong with these machines, it's susceptible for all that stuff. We used it anyway, didn't give a hoot. Of course, everything went wrong. When I went to vote, half the machines weren't even working. There's no paper trail whatsoever. Isn't it amazing? When it comes to our vote, there's little to no transparency whatsoever. But when it comes to challenging the two-party duopoly, transparency is really important. We need those physical signatures then. And I'm calling for a fair process across the board. But isn't it very interesting, the selective requirements for fairness?
Absolutely. And it shows that their definition is inherently unfair. It's only about maintaining their power structure. Like, you can see the contours of the power structure through these double standards. And the way the two-party cartel works is like, it's kind of like an invisible cage. You don't see the bars of the cage until you run up against them. There are people who can spend a lot of their lives in politics, in advocacy organizations, 501c3s, non-for-profits, doing great work. And they have no idea that these arcane ballot access restrictions are out there until they actually try to run for office themselves, or they support someone directly who is challenging the two-party cartel. And it's unlike anything else in our society. It's crazy.
I like how you refer to it as the two-party cartel. That's pretty.
You know what's crazy, Ron, is like cartel, in the etymology of it, it's actually referred to political parties colluding together way before it was
really
used to apply. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Like that's cool, where it comes from. Yeah. It's a German word.
Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You can tweet me an article at Ron Placone. We'll go through it together and